Presidential Task Force, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen of the press, let me once more welcome you all to the national briefing for Thursday, 4th of June 2020. The Presidential Task Force has continued to observe the takeoff of Phase 2 and implementation of the additional guidelines nationwide. State oversight of this phase of the response is very critical. The response needs to be decentralized to the local government level, identifying high-burden local governments and ensuring mapping of adequate support to rapidly trace, test, and treat cases. States need to drive aggressively campaigns to engage communities in order to address behavioral change and debunk misconceptions and stigma. Traditional and religious institutions have a role to play in sensitizing communities about COVID-19. In the last couple of days, the Presidential Task Force has received inquiries on some aspects of the guidelines issued. However, I wish to inform all Nigerians that they have been simplified as much as possible, and the dissemination has already commenced through the electronic and print media. The National Coordinator will continue to elaborate on the guidelines as frequently as possible. As we approach the weekend, we remind the public to be aware of the guidelines set for restricted opening of places of worship, national guidelines that have been shared with the states, and we expect that protocols will be agreed with our religious leaders where states have permitted the issuance of those protocols and the setting of the relaxation on places of worship. Compliance at this stage is important so as to avoid unwarranted consequences that put the lives of people at risk of contracting COVID-19. We urge for utmost caution at all times. The Presidential Task Force will continue to monitor the overall compliance of the easing of restrictions as well as evolution of any outbreak. However, we will not hesitate to review as we progress should the situation warrant to avoid preventable risk of transmission. You will recall that the hydroxychloroquine in the ongoing Solidarity trial on effective treatments of COVID-19 was temporarily halted by the World Health Organization on the 25th of May 2020, pending review of all safety data by the Solidarity Trial Data Safety Monitoring Committee. The World Health Organization, as part of the efforts to find a cure to the COVID-19, has resumed the inclusion of patients in the hydroxychloroquine arm of the study. The Presidential Task Force, however, advises against self-medication in all circumstances. As we have always urged, it is important for individuals to take responsibility. As we go into community engagement, citizens should cooperate with agents of the state governments, the local and community authorities, as well as their leaders in their communities. We have received reports about citizens refusing to help with contact tracing, as well as going into isolation after testing positive. It is in the interest of everybody that contacts are traced so as to slow down the spread. It is also in our interest to go into isolation facilities for close monitoring. A number of fatalities have been recorded due to change in the condition of patients while staying outside the isolation facilities. Our appeal is that if agents of the state get in touch with you regarding testing, contact tracing activities, please cooperate with them. Also, let's be prepared to be quarantined and to monitor our health for onset of symptoms, because it is important for us to break the chain of transmission and prevent the further spread of COVID-19 in our dear country. Earlier in the week, we raised the red flag and enumerated our efforts to cut down the rate of infection among medical workers. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control is stepping up training on infection, prevention, and control to slow this emerging situation down. We need our health workers to be healthy and available. As always, we remain very proud of you all. We are now in the planting season, and our farmers have been involved in land preparation and planting of crops. To guarantee a seamless flow of agricultural activities, the guidelines have exempted the agricultural value chain from the restriction put in place. It is therefore important that we do everything possible to guarantee our food security by supporting our hardworking farmers to function. I therefore appeal to all our various task forces and security personnel at the subnational levels to ensure easy passage of these inputs to our farmers. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to inform you that we have continued to receive support from our development partners. Yesterday, the International Atomic Energy Agency delivered test reagents, kits, and a PCR machine in our effort to combat COVID-19. We are appreciative of this venture and note that the equipment will go a long way in boosting our laboratory capacity and testing of infected persons. I now call on the Honorable Minister of Health, the DG, Nigeria Center for Disease Control, and the National Coordinator to update you before we take questions. And I thank you for your patience and for listening.